everybody, Atul Patel here from Orbee. We're at NADA 2024 with Brian Epro from Equifax. And we've been working with you guys doing some cool integrations. We didn't announce anything, but the idea that is behind this work that we're doing is really exciting. And you have a lot of insights, so why don't you introduce yourselves and your company, and then everyone knows who you are. Let's do that.
Yeah, Brian Epro from Equifax. I'm an alliance manager. I work with Orbee and Atul very closely. He's integrating a very sophisticated affordability data set that we own. It's exclusive to Equifax, and it's available via Orbee now also, and it's called IXI. What IXI does is it provides a complete picture of the household income of a person who is shopping for a vehicle at any given time. On top of that, we actually know what their spending power is.
Yeah, so, well, let's go into that. So a consumer comes to a dealership website, Orbee's listening to all this activity from all the different vendors involved in that customer journey, and the consumer's looking at vehicles across a range of prices and so forth. But once we actually know who they are, and once that integration kind of pulls the Equifax IXI data, we can now know which of those vehicles they can actually afford. Is that how it works?
Right. So the idea here, it's a two-level idea, right? The first idea is that we have this credible income data that will help you understand if somebody can afford the vehicle that they're researching or submitting a lead on. But the second piece of it is it's providing a much better customer experience because the dealer is able to, when using Orbee, the dealer is able to leverage the data to guide the person to the vehicles that are most likely going to be able to buy.
Yeah, who wants to see an SRP of a bunch of vehicles they can't even afford, right? And at the JD Power event, you sent me the photo, right? Which is affordability is going to be a major issue.
Absolutely.
And I know you've been passionate about this topic, and you told me sort of months before, you're like, just trust me, this is going to become a hot topic. So go into about affordability and all about that.
So a lot of people think affordability and its use in auto is centered around finding people who can't buy that car and not expending resources on them. The stance we take is if you understand the consumer's affordability, you're able to put them in the right vehicle, right? So this can be, hey, you can't afford this vehicle or you can afford this vehicle, but I'm going to show you the ones that we know you can actually take home today.
And you know what? With spending power, and you could do a lot here. You could even say you could have this vehicle or this one, and we know that, hey, if they take a lesser priced vehicle, maybe they'll have more cushion in their lives, right? So you could, as a dealer, you wouldn't say this information on the engagement, but you could almost start to show consumers that option, and without ever having to say it, the consumer's sitting back saying, hey, honey, should we really get this car? Or here's another nice one.
There's an option that may be a better fit.
Yeah, so I think that's fantastic. Now, another integration we announced, which I think has a very interesting three-way story, is Dealerware. Dealerware is a rent-to-own rental car fleet management company. And so the idea is, and you might have known Silver Car, it's the new name for Silver Car. And the idea is that if a consumer looks at vehicles and maybe affordability is a problem, maybe the option is to show them a call to action that says, hey, would you like to rent instead?
Sure.
Maybe it's a short-term rental of a fleet vehicle, and it actually gives them some room. And what's more important is your data is refreshed kind of.
So one of the key things with our data is that it's refreshed continuously throughout the year. A lot of income data, for instance, is only refreshed every 2 to 3 years. It's based on surveys. Ours is not based on surveys. The IXI data set is actually created via direct integration with most of the top financial institutions in the country, but we're directly measuring wealth at each household. And wealth doesn't mean they're rich. It means what is their capacity to buy what you're trying to sell to them, right?
Yeah, and look, especially with dealer groups too, right? If I'm a dealer group that owns a broad spectrum of brands and there's also my used sort of operation, I could really help identify for the consumer with your guys' data a good fit even across all of these rooftops. So I could come in from one brand, a luxury brand.
Absolutely.
And then we could say, you know what? Based on that data, we think you might be interested in a Honda Accord. It's a beautiful car, this, that, there's some special offers. So you can really tie together all of this.
What it comes down to, though, is when you combine affordability with behavior and lifestyle and demographics, is where it gets really powerful, and that's what we're doing with Orbee, right?
Yeah,
so the key idea here is that you not only know what they can afford, but you know what they're eventually going to buy, right? And you're doing that because Orbee is so fully integrated with the dealer's data set now. We can actually tell you, hey, 13% of your database is a J53 in our economic cohorts, and J53s usually will end up buying a Ford Explorer, as an example.
Right.
And you can actually, when somebody submits a lead and they're a J53, they may have no idea. They may be looking at an entirely different car.
Yes.
And you start offering them a Ford Explorer, that's where they're going to land.
Now, this all sounds like a lot of work, right? It's like, oh, you want me to study each person, you want me to change what I do, but that's where the automation comes in.
Absolutely, that's the whole point of integrating with Orbee, right?
Right, and let's be frank, like this happens already. This is not new.
No.
Generally, right? Retailers, CPGs, even if I was a CPG and I'm launching a new product, I'm using this kind of data to figure out where am I spending the money to advertise and drive adoption, right? Whether it's I just noticed Gillette has a new blade that's heated, and it's like $199. So how about I go to Equifax, IXI data, find who can afford a $200 razor, and actually target ads.
That'd be the most unique use case I've heard in a while.
But this is ultimately how it's been done for decades.
That's correct.
And this is just a modern version of that, and
that's
a more
correct.
automated one.
And what's so nice about the partnership between us is that you guys are automating a process where, imagine if every single person who goes on your website, who submits a lead, who comes into the dealership, walks in through the dealership, you know before they do what they're going to be able to afford and what they're likely to buy.
I mean, the whole website could change.
Absolutely. You know? Every single piece of it can be made dynamic and much more relevant and a much better customer experience as a result.
Well, this is cool. Well, we've been talking about it. I think dealerships still they always have a hang up about, hey, this is too much work, this is going to cost money, but I think that the goal for 2024 is really, I think there's going to be greater adoption. We see groups bringing these kinds of kind of strategies in-house. And so we've had some really good three-way conversations with you guys in dealer groups. And so if you're a dealer wanting to learn more about it, we'd love to hear from you. Or if you happen to already be talking to Equifax, you're welcome to call Brian, and we could always get together and talk.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks so much, Brian.
All right. Thank you.